Rage virus turned everyone into flesh-eating zombies, and you're still sitting there with your chopper in your hand, listening to these soppy muppets. I'm Ricky Arnett, Corporal Mitchell in 28 Days Later, and you're listening to the Undead Symphony.
Recording in progress.
Recording is in progress. It's true. Welcome, Michael. Oh, welcome, Lee.
Twice in one day, you lucky pup.
Yes, I am reveling in having spoken to you twice in the same day, Michael. It's made my year. Hi, Lee. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both?
We're good. It's a little bit rainy here. I don't know what it's like
It's
you
the
are.
same. Yeah, it's the same. It's not been great today. No, it's been sunny and rainy all day. So typical British weather.
Yeah, typical British weather. Yeah, I'm working from home today, so that was actually it was quite okay. I wasn't too bothered with it. So when I'm going into the city and I get drenched on the way in and then drenched on the way home, it kind of can put a crimper on your day. Welcome, Lee. This is Lee Donaldson, ladies and gentlemen, who is joining us for this episode 263, if it's possible, of the Undead Symphony.
We have no life.
We do. We just do this. We actually do this during our work day. So it's sort of like we sort of shh. Don't tell them that. Don't tell them that we actually sneak a recording in the middle of the day. Episode 263. We've actually covered a ton of movies, coming up to 300 from 40 different countries of all manner of zombie movies. So I guess we kind of know what we're talking about, but we're joined today by Lee Donaldson, who is not only a zombie fan, he is currently in the process of, we've made a short, that's right, and he's going to be, which is awesome, it's called Dead Zero. He's going to tell us all about that after we get to the whole getting to know all about you questions. And then he's trying to turn it into a feature too. So the cutting edge. He is literally creating the product that we consume. So you
no pressure.
No pressure. You're more than welcome. We actually have other creators online. We actually on the pod we had the Eerie Earth podcast guys. They came on. They actually created a radio drama, which is kind of cool as well. So they did like 3 seasons of it as well, which I thought was quite remarkable. So kudos to anyone that's actually creating something and putting it out there. And we will talk about your movie, but first of all, this is a zombie podcast, so therefore we have to talk about zombie movies. It's what we do. We like to be pigeonholed. It's easier than having to like talk about lots of different things. So we talk about zombie movies here. So the first thing we do when we get to have guests on, and we've had many guests, is we talk to them about their zombie movie history. Okay, so the first time you became aware of zombie movies, maybe the first one that you saw that you can remember seeing. I mean, mine was quite sort of like odd, because the one that I was first aware of was Zombie Lake in the late 70s, and it was sort of a poster in the local video store that scared the shit out of me. But I didn't get to see it because I was only like 5 at the time. But much older, my first zombie movie was Night of the Comet in the mid to late 1980s, and Michael's is quite famously
Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. So what was your first zombie movie, Lee, that you remember seeing?
Yeah, okay. First of all, thank you for having me on, chaps. Really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. So I have also, I'm an 80s baby. So unfortunately, some of the ones you mentioned I'm not familiar with. I do recall the Night of the Living Dead, but I've never seen it. My first experience with zombies, in terms of wanting to see it, kind of knowing about it, was 28 Days Later in 2002. So I hadn't really watched any prior to that, because I prefer, generally, apart from zombies, in terms of horrors, science fiction, science fiction horror, like Alien, that sort of thing. So,
we are preaching to the choir here. We are massive Alien, Predator, and
right,
Michael is covered in Doctor Who tattoos.
Oh wow!
If you want to go down that route, we don't have to, by the way. So more science fiction horror.
Yeah. So, but obviously, when I first watched 28 Days Later, then I started to get very interested in the science and the technology related to viruses that create zombies. So that was my first experience of seeing one as a younger person. I had prior to that, I hadn't really come across many because again, I was a bit younger then, in growing up in the 90s. So yeah, really my first taste was 28 Days Later, which ironically you both spoke about with your podcast with Kyle Bishop, because I listened to it and you both agreed you still think it's the best film ever made for a zombie film, which I will agree from a biased perspective as an Englishman, but also, I've watched quite a few since then. That being my first intro, but I still think it is, and I would agree, one of the best. There are many you've mentioned I haven't seen, so I still have to watch to try and compare. But yeah, first one was 20 Days Later, and I still kind of rate it at the top personally.
Well, that's fine. I mean, it is in most people's top 10. I mean, I think Michael will argue that it actually should be in people's top 10 of all movie genres. And obviously, we have. I mean, I didn't get into zombie movies until much later, until sort of like I was at college, and a couple of my college friends, well, actually, they ended up being in Shaun of the Dead. So,
okay, cool. That's cool.
So they were really into it. They were into all of the 1970s like Italian splatterfest, Lucio Fulci's and stuff like that. And Michael's much younger. He's only. I mean, he may sound mature, but he is only 7. So between us, we kind of cover the gamut. But through the podcast, if anything, through the podcast, we've tried to be equal opportunities movie watchers, and it's a genre we know we're coming up to. When Zedmum comes out later this year, it'll be our 40th country that we've seen a zombie movie from.
Oh wow.
So really it's a global phenomenon, and it has fans across the world, and it has varying degrees of success, because we'll often talk about how
our podcast or the genre.
The genre we can often talk about how it can often be the easy, or seem to be the easiest genre to make a movie in. You just get some balloon intestines, balloon animal intestines.
It's cheaper from a production perspective. It's much cheaper.
Exactly, but then it is, and that's what we think. Is often we've seen it because we've seen the gamut. We've seen World War Z that cost hundreds of millions, all the way down to Colin that cost £50. Genuinely, it cost £50. So we've seen the entire
45.
gamut. Well, they gave us that £5 back. So we've seen everything. But it doesn't mean it can be done well if you've got a really huge budget, or done badly if you've got a low budget. So it comes down to the material. So we're going to talk about your movie later. So we appreciate you may have got into the zombie genre later. So your favorite, and is that your favorite and your first, was 28 Days Later?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying I was 13 when I watched that, by the way. So in 2002. So I can't remember how I watched it, because obviously I couldn't go to cinema. But I think someone gave me on. When DVDs used to be sold by an Asian man in a pub.
Oh, trust us. We're from London. Trust us.
Yeah.
My original copy of Terminator 2 had people standing up in front of the.
Yeah, that was like my version of Hostel that I had from my uncle. Yeah.
I remember
I'll tell you
what,
I can trump your legally purchased from a boot sale DVD. Mine was, I don't remember if me telling you this, Darren. I think I did.
You did.
I was flying back from the US, and it was on a small screen on the back of an American's chair. That's where I first saw 28 Days Later. Yeah, so I think I can trump that. Yeah.
So I mean, arguably 28 Days Later is in anyone that we've spoken to, it's in their top 10. It kind of has to be. So what would be the rest of your? I mean, you may not even rate another 9, but do you have other zombie movies that since 2002 you have seen that you rate highly?
Yeah. So you mentioned World War Z, and for me, this is there's mixed opinions on the film. Obviously, much larger budget, big names attached to it, and as we know, it doesn't always mean and guarantee it will be a good story. But for me, when I look at any type of story and genre, I like it when writers are more creative and they do something different. And the thing that stood out to me the most, which gave me ideas for Dead Zero, was the idea, as you know, was shielding the humans through having a virus injected into them so they're invisible. And for me, I thought that was such clever writing and a nice way to put a new spin on the survival aspect. Because as we know, for some reason, these people don't just say, just take me, I can't be bothered to fight anymore and run away. I've had enough of this nonsense. Yeah. When we watch these films, for some reason, these people just have this, they've got this human instinct to survive. But a lot of people, I think, will just quite happily give up. So when I watched this, I thought it's such a clever idea, a very simple idea to show the audience there's a way you can beat the zombies without having just to go in all guns blazing. And for that reason, I think it's one of my top three because of that different angle they had, which is what I'm looking for in zombie films, because I don't like watching the same thing over and over again with a slight
trust us.
As you guys have clearly watched many more, I can imagine you see a lot of copycats and whatnot. So
they kind of blend into one. World War Z, I mean, stands out apart from the rest, not just because of its budget, because it's based on a novel that's really well done, and the guy who wrote it also wrote the Guide to Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse as well, which is tongue-in-cheek and a comedy version of it, but actually really well done as well. So it was really well done. It added extra elements. I will sit and watch that movie over and over again. It's in my top 3 as well.
Okay.
And I've probably seen 500 zombie movies, but it's still in my top 3. So okay, World War Z or Z. What else would make you?
I mean, of course, I have to reference Resident Evil. Now I know it's based on a game, but I grew up on the first Resident Evil on the PlayStation 1. And that introduced zombies to me in a different way as opposed to 28 Days Later. Now, you probably would agree with me, it started off good and then went quite bad as the franchise
You've
went
clearly
on.
listened to our pod. You've clearly listened to our shows.
see, Michael's a gamer too. I just watched the movies. My favorite was the third one. Third one. Not as a part of the Resident Evil. None of them. None of the Milla Jovovich, Paul W.S. Anderson movies are really anything to do with a computer game. They kind of hint at bits of it, but it doesn't feel like the computer game to me. None of it really.
I agree.
Like
I think with the first one, let's not beat around the bush. I mean, the ones that we've seen, Darren, I think we gave it quite a good 6.5 or something like that.
It was a good movie. It was an enjoyable movie.
It's not brilliant. It's just immensely better than the ones that followed it.
Well, that's
except for the third one, which is okay.
We compared them all to each other, and then the animated ones. I never bothered seeing any of the animated ones. To be fair, the reboot, Welcome to Raccoon City, and I didn't mind the Netflix show either. So there's a lot of material out there, and now it's getting rebooted again by the guy that did Weapons. So
that's right. I saw that.
Rebooted again. So Resident Evil, the first movie,
I would say the
James
first.
James Purefoy, and we call him Salmon Chunks. Colin Salmon is in it. We call him Salmon Chunks because he actually gets cubed by the laser.
That's right. That's a great scene.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it is. Everyone can remember that. That's again such a clever idea for a scene, which just resonated. Like it's burnt in your mind. You can't forget that.
Exactly, and there are precious few of those in this genre where you can go, what about that? So The Walking Dead and them all killing everyone coming out of the barn. Including Sophia, and then I actually like World War Z at the end when he's actually comes out and he's infected himself, and then he just walks through them all, which is just a great scene because it's so emotive because they are so all the scientists are so relieved that it actually worked because this has been what it's been working towards the entire movie and stuff like that. So do you have any outside of those things, Resident Evil?
Yeah, so obviously there's been a couple comedy based ones, and again, so for me, I'm a very much action based man in terms of performing and writing and producing, but I really liked Zombieland, and I also like Shaun of the Dead. So because I thought they were both very clever in the way they introduced zombies and the whole kind of life that's going on around it, from a different perspective. And both of them stood out to me just from the comical factors, but also like the day-to-day life of trying to survive as one, which like in Zombieland, where they're talking about double tap and having your cardio up to scratch and things like that when you go to the toilet. These.
It was more. It was a bit, as silly as it sounds, a bit like with COVID, in the sense, don't forget your mask. Always make sure you're 6 feet away from people.
Yeah.
Wash your hands for 30 seconds, kind of thing.
Yeah. Happy birthday to you and all that. But
I
I
think
you're right. I think you're very. It's very clever. I think that possibly Zombieland. I don't think Zombieland is a better film than Shaun, but I think it does that kind of living with it better than Shaun.
Yeah, for an American-based one, I think obviously not to offend the American fans.
No, offend them.
Zombies, again, I can sound biased, but a lot of the zombie films that I like, and I've referenced so far a couple of them, they are English, but we have a different way of comedy, as you know, and a different way of showing action, and the zombies. So Zombieland is great, but I would agree I still prefer Shaun of the Dead. But I think that is just bias, as being a Brit and understanding that humour differently. But those two stand out to me because of the observational comedy, should we say. So they're also up there with for what I like. I Am Legend also. Not everyone likes that film, but for me, I really liked it because again, the tech and the science. That's what I like in these films. I'm a very techie science person, and I really liked his performance. Not everyone agrees, but I thought Will performed pretty well in that. And
it's a decent enough version of it. I mean, it's been done to death.
It has,
because Matt Matheson wrote it back in the 50s, and then we had Vincent Price was in the first version of it, The Last Man on Earth, and then Charlton Heston, the Omega Man. Then they made I Am Omega and I Am Legend.
I found with I Am Legend. Sorry to cut in here. I think this is really interesting. So I don't know if I've ever said this on this pod before, but I know I've said it to you. I think I Am Legend is very similar to Watchmen in the sense, not that they're the same type of films, but they're not that rewatchable. In the sense that I watched the first. I watched I Am Legend at the cinema. I always remember New Year's Eve, big screen, brilliant film, and I was blown away by it. Absolutely blown away and the scene where Will Smith's begging the mannequin to talk to him because obviously he's starting to lose his mind. The dog dying, the mannequin moving his head. Is it really him? And we obviously know now that they put the head moving on purpose. As him. But then I remember I got it on DVD. And I sat down with my dad years ago and come out and went, this film's amazing. This film's absolutely amazing. Got to watch it. Love this film. An hour in, I was like, I kind of am a bit bored with it. And I got that with Watchmen as well. Now, I don't know. No offense, I know you just said it's one of your favourite films, but
it's not my favourite.
Or one of your better, one of the ones your top 10 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Darren? Like as a neutral, because Lee says
I think I also have movies in my zombie top 10 that I wouldn't watch over and over again. Because I think to watch something. I mean, I was talking to someone else about this the other day, and the whole idea of having a favorite set of movies, like Jaws is my favorite movie of all time. I can sit and watch Jaws over and over and over again. I mean, my other favorite movies, Castaway, I could probably do that over and over again. But then the others, anything outside of that, I have comfort movies.
Yeah.
There's a Paul Bettany movie called Priest, and there is the Carl Urban version of Dread. I can sit and I can watch them over and over again because it's brain candy. I don't need to think. I'm not learning anything. It is just a little bit of gratuitous violence, if anything. Whereas I could watch them over again, but they're not necessarily my favorite movies. They're not in my top 10 of favorite movies. And if you look at my top 10 of favorite movies, a lot of them I've only seen once, or I've seen them a couple of times. Maybe I saw them at the cinema, and maybe I saw them at home on DVD or on the TV. And they'll go, oh yeah, I really love Igby Goes Down and Swimming with Sharks and Usual Suspects and all these other movies. And you'll go, and No Country for Old Men and Reservoir Dogs, and you'll add those to your list. And you go, yeah, but I can't watch them over and over and over again. So there is a difference between a comfort movie where you can sit, and there are comfort movies in the zombie genre. I mean, I think Zombieland, Shaun for sure. I think 28 Days Later. Michael's seen it how many times?
Oh, well into the double figures.
Exactly.
Well into the double figures.
So I think there is a difference between a movie that is incredibly watchable, that is effectively your comfort food of movies, but then there is also your favorites, which don't have to be the same sort of thing. So I've watched movies that you could sit there and go, "This is incredible. I'm never going to watch this again."
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I mean, you mentioned, Darren, obviously the World War Z is something you could watch again. If I was to compare that film to I'm Legend, I would agree that I'm Legend, I'm quite happy to skip opposed to World War Z if I saw it on two different streaming channels.
Yeah.
In that perspective, but I like it because of, you've seen both endings. Have you both seen?
Oh,
yeah.
We have read the books and seen every version of it, other than I Am Omega, which looks like absolute dog shit, and I'm going to watch it later this week.
Might have to as well. Okay, and then obviously I have seen Train to Busan, sorry if I pronounced it, which is a great indie type film. Maggie, which you mentioned in a previous podcast as well, I think of Kyle. I like that, and the reason why I watched that was because of Arnold, because I do like him. A lot of what he's done as a person and an action actor inspires me.
It was a very strange choice for me for him, because I mean, you're absolutely right. And if I grew up with Arnie movies, Predator, Commando, Running Man, Total Recall. These movies are my teens. Absolutely love, and obviously Terminator. Terminator 2 being one of Michael's ultimate favorite movies. Absolutely, it is. So seeing him in that, I mean, I actually, in the podcast where I reviewed it, I actually did say I've actually kind of been putting this off for a couple of years, because I knew it was going to be completely different to the other movies that we were watching. And it was. And I thought, I mean, it was Abigail Breslin as well from Zombieland, played Maggie. Absolutely superb movie. I genuinely rated it incredibly highly. And he was very good in it as well.
Yeah, it's an underrated film, and it didn't do very well. I think it only made about maybe 200 or 400 grand profit, if that.
Yeah.
It barely broke even, really. So, but again, it's one of those films that people wouldn't have really gone to watch him, and he was older as well. I think if he maybe done something like younger, it might be different.
Yeah, maybe. But then it would have been a different movie. If the Arnie from the late 80s was in Maggie, it's not that movie.
It's quite funny.
It's not that movie. It's not when he sort of like gaffer taping a rocket launcher to the bottom of a machine gun. It's not the same movie. So Maggie, I mean, have you seen? And it's because I'm only interrupting it because you do like the science and you do like the British movies. Have you seen The Girl with All the Gifts?
No, I haven't.
You must, right, Michael? If Lee likes science and British and action movies, not just action, but actually with the science and the military.
That's what I love.
The military rather than action. So action is like Army of the Dead, where people, you got Dave Bautista and two machine guns jumping through a fucking Vegas casino. Definitely watch The Girl with All the Gifts. It is British. Paddy Considine, Gemma Arterton. Michael just fainted because of Gemma Arterton. Glenn Close is in it too, and it is brilliant. It has the British military element that you love. It also has the science element. It is a virus that works in a very different way to other movies as well, and affects people in different ways as well. I'm not going to go on about it any more than that, but I reckon you will watch that movie and go, you may.
Is that the I'm Legend?
Is this the one where like people wake up on a day and some of them have got certain like reactions to it and others have got different ones? I've heard of this. No. Different movie. Okay,
very, very different. But yeah, go with All the Gifts is a zombie movie. Paddy Considine, Gemma Arterton, Glenn Close, made in Britain, very English, British military plus a very unique take on the zombie genre that I reckon you're going to absolutely love.
Without trying to be too silly, it's so British, you're surprised why Glenn Close is in it. Because in the sense that, when you watch 28 weeks later, you're like, oh, this is just obviously like 28 days later, but the Americans have taken over even the production because there's Americans everywhere.
Yeah.
And, you see like the 1996 Doctor Who movie with Paul McGann. It's like, right, it's set in San Francisco. They've completely changed who the Doctor is. You can tell there's an American influence in there. It's so well done. I don't think it really has. And I'm not saying American influence in a bad way, but sometimes it can take away what made it, like take away that sort of British charm to it. It retains all of that charm, doesn't it, Darren?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll definitely watch that then.
It's definitely enjoy that one. It's a top 10. So do you have any others that you actually think are good zombie movies?
Just one more.
The
It's
rest of shit.
The Crazy.
The Crazies, the
Crazies. What film?
The original Romero or the remake with Timothy Olyphant?
I've only seen the remake.
Ah, well, it was a George A. Romero. He actually made it around the same time as he did. The original.
I really enjoyed the
Dawn
remake.
of the Dead.
I thought the remake was really good.
I do too. I'm a big fan of Timothy Olyphant, so that's a big tick. Actually, enjoyed the Crazies.
I think for me, that's just, it's like kind of like lower on the list, but I still liked it and appreciated it.
You got a really short list. When we go, this is low on the list. You go, what number is it? 400.
Yeah, I think I've got about nine or so, mate. If I count, let's say if I count all, well, not all three. If I count 20 Days Later and 28 Years Later as two, perhaps, because I've obviously seen the new one. And
yeah. They're always two. You can never put them in the same group.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a very good standalone, because of the time, difference and what they've done there. So I'd probably add that as an additional to make it 10 if you want to go for a top 10. Obviously, I am a fan, but I'm not a super fan like you guys. So I definitely have more to watch. But these ones I've seen and they always stand out to me the most.
I'll tell you what, Darren, let's turn this on. Darren, let's turn this on its head a little bit. What film, apart from Girl with All the Gifts, would you recommend to watch?
Me?
Yeah, like so like he said, he's not as big a fan as we are of the genre. So come on, let's be the encyclopedia and let's recommend what can be the next ones. And then, I don't know, Lee, you can put something out or you can come back on the show and discuss after our recommendation with some fresh eyes.
I would say that he's already seen Train to Busan, so that's good. I mean, he's actually watched a lot of most people's top 10s. I would say the ones that are missing, I would probably say Night Eats the World, which is French. I would say it's definitely should be up there. I would, like I said, watch Girl with All the Gifts. And if anything, because you do like the comedies, there's a New Zealand.
Here we go.
What? We love that movie. Well, what are you
talking
you're
right.
about?
No, you're right. It is good.
It's called I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. We had the star on the show. He was actually the first guest we had. Technically the second guest after Michael, because he was a guest and he just hasn't left yet. So yeah, I mean, so I would say that. I would say definitely Go with All the Gifts. I think that's right in your wheelhouse, that one. But then I would also watch Night Eats the World, which is a French, and it's more survival of an individual. Because my personal favorite subgenre within this genre is survival. It's purely survival based. That's what actually the novels are also about. It's about surviving the zombie holocaust and the actual. Maybe there is actually in the book The Undead Symphony is a lot of science about how they survive and how they discover all the things that discover, some by trial and error and some by others. But I would definitely say my favorite is the survival side. I live in apartments. I have lived in apartments all over the world. So the bits where someone is trying to survive a zombie outbreak or the apocalypse or whatever in an apartment, like now, if it happened now, how am I going to survive, kind of thing. That's my favorite. So definitely Go with All the Gifts. I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. It is hilarious, genuinely hilarious, and yeah, Night Eats the World.
What about Blood Quantum?
That's an interesting one. It is.
It's a bit science. It's a bit sciencey.
It's a bit sciencey
in the sense of blood types and
it's to do with the Native Americans,
ethnic groups, isn't it?
Yes, the First Nation people are immune. Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's in my top 15, I would guess. Okay, so the interesting thing,
well,
and
thank you.
the question, which is normally next, which is list some of the ones you hated, your worst ones. Now, the problem is that as you seem to be more of a casual zombie movie fan, if I may. So you may not, when we watch any old shit. I spent the last couple of days watching these horrible movies that Steph from Listeners of the Dead suggested I watch, and they were awful. It was a 2 and a 2.5, and I actually wanted to floss my brain after watching them. But we watch anything. We are glass half full movie reviewers. We'll watch any old shit. Some of it, like Michael's favorite, Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies.
How dare you?
Thank you. How dare you? Are awful. So as you're watching movies and you're picking movies to watch, you probably don't have to sit and watch something that's awful. But have you seen any zombie movie where you've just gone, this is just rubbish? It's more tricky when you actually, you're watching it. You're watching it leisurely because you're not forcing yourself down the route of watching stuff that's nonsense.
Probably just the later Resident Evil films, because it just felt so lazy and there's no real creative writing or storytelling. It was just bash out another film.
Certainly the last 3 were. There was one of them, I can't remember which one it was. They flew from Alaska to L.A. in a single prop plane somehow, and then landed on a giant building that was a prison. And it was just such nonsense.
I know. There's things like that, but like you mentioned, I haven't watched extensively as many to really pinpoint apart from that. But what I have done, I have gone down the rabbit hole quite a lot because my partner, she's obsessed with horror films, and we have watched a lot of bad films in the horror genre, but they've not always been zombie related. So what I'd have to do is probably
give us a couple of examples.
What, horror films? I couldn't even name them.
Awful horror films.
They're that bad.
They're that bad. I can't even remember the names of them. There was one actually where this man decapitated his own baby's head accidentally. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I don't know.
It was honestly so weird. And then another one with some weird guys in the woods who were just kidnapping people, and the SFX was so bad, like the makeup and just the practical effects. So we've gone down the rabbit hole in other types of horror, but haven't done the zombie one. So I think what I do is I probably watch a few and then come back to you guys.
You're always more than welcome. I mean, absolutely. We love having guests on because we end up talking. I mean, rather than me just talking about a movie or Michael and I talking about a movie, we did Reanimator earlier today. It's good to have a guest on because it's a completely new perspective. So yeah, go away and watch the ones we suggested for a start, and then come back.
Some bad ones as well.
Yeah. Oh no! I can't do that to you. I mean, there is actually an English movie that actually does have quite a lot of science and quite a lot of military aspects of it, called Attack of the Flatulating Dead. I'm not joking. It is called Attack of the Flatulating Dead. When we give a movie a kick in, sometimes the stars come and follow us. So what was his name? Head? Nathan, what was it? No, it wasn't Anthony Head. Michael, do you remember? What was his name?
I can't remember his name now.
There you go. We can't even remember your name. We're sorry. We gave your movie a massive kick, and then you followed us and DM'd us. The actual director of Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, actually does DM Michael from time to time because we're the only people who've seen that movie and the only people who talk about it. So there are some awful movies. I'm actually not going to do that to you. Actually, I'd rather you watch the good stuff. And so those that we've recommended are certainly there. So tell you what it means is, and you've alluded to it, that we have watched so many of these movies that we do know what is good, what is bad, what is done well, what is done badly. We know all the cliches. We talk about our zombie movie tropes. It's happening in the background, a la Shaun of the Dead. Even Shaun of the Dead has the tropes. And then you'll have all the different elements. However, we want people to make good zombie movies. So when we point out something that is bad in other movies, we just hope they don't make the same mistake as well. So that aside, we hope that your movie is good. So the reason why Lee is on, ladies and gentlemen, is that he is the writer, producer, director?
So yeah, I'm co-writer, producer, and I'm the main protagonist in the movie as well.
Oh, so you're the star as well of Dead Zero, right?
Dead Zero, yeah.
Okay, so before we talk about the talk about the plot, talk about the inspiration to actually make the movie first, and then we'll talk about what the movie is about, and then how you've been making it, and what you've made so far, and what you plan to make. So what was the inspiration to make the movie? Because I've seen you've made other movies before.
Yeah. So as we know, horror has a real cult following, and any genre of horror. And I mentioned earlier about science fiction horror, obviously a big fan like yourselves, but zombies, I do appreciate, and I wanted to do something that combines action with zombies, because I've basically been disappointed with a lack of storytelling with zombies, because it just seems to be the same thing over and over again, apart from a few exceptions here and there, where they change the rules, or there's a different way of the virus transferring and whatnot. So I kept thinking there's something missing. There's something new that can be done, and I'd like to be that pioneer. I would like to have that input, and perhaps be a standalone that could rival 28 Days Later, because that's a great film and a big inspiration for me. And they've obviously introduced new elements. To 3 films now, but what they haven't done is what I've done. And I want to create something where people talk about it and then watch the film and then continue to talk about it after. For me, when I watch a movie, even though I know it's usually fiction, if it gets me thinking and overthinking, analyzing about, but what about that? Why didn't they do that? And how could that go there? And if I talking about it to my partners, if it's a real thing, I know they've done a great job with me, because they were fully engaged in the story and completely believed it. And I have done, sorry. And when I watch some zombie films, obviously I've mentioned the good ones, but there's still been a little bit of predictability. Like some things, you can see where this is going. Oh, not another bunch of guys go in, few of them die, there's one lone survivor, how do they kill the bad guy, blah blah blah. It's just quite predictable to an extent. So I thought I really wanted to do something new, show some really cool stunts and action, as well as fantastic SFX, which is not low budget. Everything I've introduced and will be showing to fans of horror is not low budget at all. We do things to the highest of standard, because we don't want it to be seen as a joke or something you just kind of watch because it's only $1.99 down the rabbit hole. I want it personally to be something that people talk about for a long time, and perhaps other writers and other people in the industry would take note from, to start writing new types of zombie films, or perhaps something new completely, because as we know, the zombies are the last monster introduced into horror genre. It would be nice if something new would come potentially from that, inspire another writer or myself even, because you can only do something so many ways, so many times.
Oh yeah, you're just rehashing the same thing effectively.
Exactly.
So when you watch movies, there's a zombie movie you may not have seen. I'm going to guess you might not have seen it, called Pontypool. It's actually incredible. It was a game changer for us to a degree. Actually,
very clever film.
The virus is transmitted by spoken language.
Okay, interesting.
Exactly, and so it's actually absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. There's actually there's an Alan Moore, the comic book writer who used to write for 2000 AD. He created The Watchmen. He created V for Vendetta. Lots of other comic books as well. He wrote a short in his Earth Shocks where there was an alien, and the alien species was a concept, and the first person is walking along, and then they get it, and then they tell the next person the concept, and when they get the concept, they're taken over by the alien. So when you come across, and you're absolutely right, when you come across something that's so different and so refreshing and so fresh that you go, wow. And I read that comic book 40 years ago maybe, and I still think about how different it was to everything else that that I'd read on zombies, up to that point and stuff like that. And so it sounds really interesting. And so you actually have made other movies, right? So
yeah. So I made my first action film last year.
okay.
That is a short, and that is very much like the Snatch. You seen Snatch? Sorry,
Yeah, of
Brad
course.
Pitt,
Yeah,
Guy
yeah,
Ritchie.
yeah.
Very much Snatch / a film called The Raid, which is an
Oh yeah,
Indonesian,
yeah.
Indonesian action film with a British director. Actually,
we've seen both of them as well.
okay, well, you've watched some good films there then, because they are fantastic in terms of action and fight choreography.
Absolutely.
So the two elements, the reason why I mentioned those two films, because mine is kind of a hybrid of the two with my own spin.
Mm-hmm.
But action's at the forefront, and it's very grungy and very like rough and hard and very violent. It's a very violent film, but obviously it's all fight choreo. But we have a good story and a good plot, and it's actually a proof of concept for a TV pilot. So I'm trying to get the funding to make that into a TV series rather than a film.
Is this sorry to interrupt, but is this what you obviously you talked about this before, and actually having seen some of the stuff that you put out, is this where you're coming from? Is it you stunt performers that are really good at this fight choreography, and you're part of that group? Is that what
Yeah,
you're?
so I'm an action actor, and most of my work is stunt related. Because like we mentioned about action films, heavily influenced by Arnie, Stallone, Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, people like this. So for me, when I go into acting, I want to be an action actor. So of course, I had to implement stunts into that training. And I've got a great network of stunt performers. Some of them are trainees, some of them are established as the British Stunt Register, which is in the UK, the official organisation. If you want to be part of that register, you can be independent. I'm an independent performer. So I've got that pool of talent there, as well as actors and writers and other creators from different parts of the crew. And obviously, so to put in a nutshell, the reason why I made that film was because I wanted to tell stories, because I'm a writer. I'm a writer from the start. I've always been someone who likes to have an imagination and to explore ideas and concepts from both a creative side and a very analytical mindset. So the natural progression for me as a performer was to start writing and producing, and that's what I did. But the reason why I went from one action film to an action horror zombie film is because, like I mentioned, I haven't seen anything in the market that is appealing enough to me to want to watch it. So I thought, if I can't,
so you're effectively making the movie you'd like to watch.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, and that's the reason why I've written this, because I think I'm getting bored of what I have seen. Granted, I haven't seen as many as you guys, so perhaps there's something undiscovered to me. But from what I have seen and my general understanding of not just horror but other films and other genres, that it's just getting a bit boring. So I'm thinking, let's give something new out there. This is not AI inspired either. It's completely from my mind and the directors and DOPs. The three of us collaboratively written this. The first film I wrote with another actor. We want to bring something fresh. And essentially it's because, like I said, I'm identifying a gap in the market, and also I'm hungry to see something different. So because no one's putting it out there, I'm going to present it to you instead.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see this, because I always say whenever I watch films, I'm a huge horror fan in general, but obviously I like the zombie subgenre, but I like horror movies, and I'll sit and watch films with my children. It could be anything really, any movie, and it's the whole classic thing. Everyone knows that there's only really sort of 9 genres, aren't there? Really, there's the damsel in distress, there's the action hero, there's the save the day type, there's the romantic heartbreaking. There's I think they worked out, didn't they? There's literally only 9 like ways of doing a film, but they'll all fall in. Even if you've got something like Jaws, that will be similar to something like Love Actually, like in similarities, or that's an exaggeration, but you know what I'm trying to say. I'll be really interested to see what this is, because if you are trying to do something this game changing, it will probably just naturally fall into that category somehow of it is like X film, but I'll be really interested to see how you do your spin on it to try and differentiate it.
See,
if you get what I mean.
Michael used the term Michael and I use the term game changing quite a lot in this genre, and I'll explain why. Because I wouldn't say we're scholars in it, because Professor Bishop is the scholar, as is Peter Dender. We're just aficionados, connoisseurs, if you like, of the zombie genre. But we've seen things from the beginning. So that, if we're going to tell you about what the game changers are, it is 1930s white zombie with Bela Lugosi. 10 years later, we will have I Walked with a Zombie, which, again, black and white, it's voodoo. Then there was a huge gap where there might have been a few Hammer House of Horror versions of it, which would have been Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee kind of thing, up until 1969, and George A. Romero, who also did the original Crazies, brought out Night of the Living Dead. But then and the reason why that was a game changer, because it made it up to date, genuinely scary, people trying to survive in a farmhouse. Then there was 1978, 79, depending on what country you come from, Dawn of the Dead came out. And that was another game changer because it made the genre bigger. Suddenly you've got SWAT teams, you have got helicopters, you're taking over an entire shopping mall. The shopping mall thing in zombie movies is because of Dawn of the Dead 1978. Then there is another huge gap because we don't really care about the 1980s, sadly, or the 90s. There's virtually nothing in the 1990s, up until 2002. And 2002 obviously gave us Running Zombies on Fire in 28 Days Later, which scared the shit out of all of us. And then a couple of years later, you actually have Michael's remake of Dawn of the Dead by Snyder. And we had Shaun of the Dead, which is the first comedy. Then there's another gap, in which case it's just filled by so much fucking Walking Dead. But it made it mainstream. It made it mainstream.
I know what you're saying there, but for casual listeners of this pod who's listening, for you being on it, Lee, when we say about there's so much fucking Walking Dead, you can't take away what that first Walking Dead was. That was a game changer.
I didn't mention it, by the way, because obviously it's a series. Yeah.
No, we actually think that episode 1, season 1, Little Girl, is the highest rated individual piece of zombie entertainment we have watched.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that on another podcast. I do agree. But obviously that's why I didn't mention. But I didn't mention it because we were speaking about films. But I do agree. I do agree with that opinion for sure.
Yeah. And then next, finally, for me, it is actually World War Z. And the reason why I class that as a game changer, because it was the first huge budget A-lister zombie movie.
That's right.
No disrespect to anybody that's in anything leading up to that point, but Brad Pitt, hundreds of millions, genuinely traveling around the world. It
made it cool before the movie was even seen. Like Walking Dead became cool after people had seen it and after people had experienced it. But like you say there, never before would you ever have anyone remotely of the level of Brad Pitt being something zombie related.
Absolutely. So those are our game changers in the genre, because, as you said quite rightly, and Michael say all the time, it's all been done to death. So trying to find something new, like the reason why I said there's a 20-year gap is there was nothing in that 20 years that was anything new. And there were 4 other Romero movies we're not even mentioning that, he is the granddaddy of the genre, and there were and 28 Weeks Later and all of these other movies that are actually good, but they didn't make any difference. They're just a rehashing of the same story that we've seen a million times before. So we are more than happy that you are aiming to find this niche that hasn't been explored before in the genre. So that was your inspiration. So tell us about how you went about getting, because you've made a chunk of it. You made a short.
Yeah.
How long is the short so far?
35 minutes.
Wow. I mean, I actually, talking about shorts, on Disney, I actually have all the streaming services, there is a zombie short I watched the other week called The Last Marriage. Brilliant, to be fair. Swedish, 16 minutes. It made the Disney streaming channel.
Wow.
So it's like, so I'm saying that, obviously go for the go go for the feature because that's going to get the most eyes on it. But it's just saying that, you know, even shorts in this genre are getting people watching them because they're on bloody Disney.
Yeah,
So
there's more platforms as well where you can watch shorts now. It is becoming more known and more common and popular for people to watch shorts on other random platforms like Tubi or Tubby.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Tubi, there's a lot on Tubi, but then there's actually, you know, Vimeo. You can literally just link people to your own Vimeo site and stuff like that. So how did it get about? Because, you know, I've seen the trailer, and these I mean, they look very military kind of people. So these are your stunt before. Is everybody
No, so the cast is split into three groups. I wanted to tell three different stories that come together at the end of the movie.
Okay.
That was to get good coverage for every actor, of course, within those groups, and also to tell more of a story, so it's not just action. We've got one group which are called the Zero Squad. They're a bunch of military mercenaries, like ex-military mercenaries that come together. They've been given a message to go to this facility. This is what you would assume as this has been done before, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, we then have a group of scientists who we kind of see in a forest, and you don't know why they're there, why they're running, what they're being pursued from. And then later on, they're in a laboratory, which I can't go any further into. And then we also have the security team and henchmen that work for the main protagonist, the person who's orchestrating all of this, very much like Jigsaw.
Okay.
You know, and you know, I can't elaborate further.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But just to try and give the listeners some
so you kind of got three elements that feel different because you said that.
Yeah, they're all very different, but they're all centralized within one facility where there's a survival, which is what we like, as we've discussed. But there's a lot of twists and a lot of layers as to how zombies are there, how they're being contained, how they're interacting, and so forth. And the only thing I can kind of shed one element of light on, which is similar, which is ironic, because 28 years later came out after I started filming, and I've obviously hadn't ever seen the script.
It's not the giant penis, is it?
No.
Okay, good.
But however, the alpha.
Yes.
Is the first time in a zombie film that they introduced the concept of a leader of zombies. So, unless you've seen it prior.
Well, we have, but not many. It isn't done many times.
Okay.
I would say there are very few alphas. Army of the Dead by Zack.
Count on one hand.
You can genuinely. I mean, and the reason why is because, and this is actually going back to the different conversation about zombies, which is, when you watch a werewolf movie, there's one werewolf, maybe a pack of them, but they're just werewolves. They're individuals, right? And then Dracula was an individual vampire. And then if you watch any of the pretty vampire shows like True Blood, and Twilight and all that, like they're all these pretty people. Zombies are normally, if you think about The Walking Dead, they're faceless, right? They're blank, you know, like paper cutout people. There is no. I mean, so we've seen so many movies that when we actually get a zombie that we recognize, like there's a movie called It Stains the Sands Red, and it's the only reason we really know this zombie is because it's the only zombie in the movie. But then we saw a Japanese movie called I Am Legend. I Am Hero, and it has this high jumping zombie in it that looks really, really specific. So it's a rare instance where there are zombies that are recognizably.
But even they aren't alphas, are they?
They're not. The only real alphas that I've ever seen are 28 years later. But prior to that, Snyder made Army of the Dead, and that has an alpha as well. But outside of that, it is incredibly rare. There is not a zombie hierarchy.
Yeah. So just to cut you up there, sorry.
That's fine.
I can't obviously divulge too much into it.
Don't.
But if you just imagine there is some type of control of those zombies. Okay? That's all I can say.
That's fine.
And when we're saying looking for gaps or looking for game changers, sometimes it's the most simplest thing or idea that can be introduced that you'll think, that's such a clever idea. Why didn't I think of that? Right?
Absolutely.
Well, so this is what we've got, the layers here. So when you watch it, it won't be typical zombie. A few survivors, they get out. Oh, everyone's happy. We contained it. Let's end the movie. No, there's a lot more depth to it with the zombies. The zombies are the same. I can tell you that. They are not unique. They don't have different skills or special abilities. They're all the same. But it's the way in which they interact with a certain individual that will change the game, which hasn't been seen. And that is separate. That element of what I've mentioned of interaction and control, shall we say, is one element which is separate to the science technology I've introduced into this as well, which also hasn't been seen and done. So the viewer will get to, hopefully delve into understanding the science and the tech behind the ideas, and also trying to understand how is this occurring through this such simple method of what is being used as a tool, shall we say. So you've got 3 or 4 different things that have been introduced within the zombie rules and lore, and then hopefully from that people will get excited because it's so many ways for it to be adapted and more layers to be added onto it. So
you've done the short so far, which is actually quite lengthy. It's half of
that's a huge short.
Yeah,
it's half of what you wanted to make, right?
I mean that as a compliment. I mean,
the intention was
that's a great piece of work.
Sorry, the intention was always to make a feature. I'll be honest. I made my short last year to prove to myself, actually, more than anyone else, that I could make a film, and I could make a very good film with a very low budget in a very short period of time. So this one, I always, because what you'll see with the first 35 minutes, let's say I release that before a feature.
Is it the chronological first 35 minutes, or have you been like trying to create this short that can be self-encapsulated and just watch the short?
It can, yeah. So it was created to be a like you can watch it from the start to the end, and you don't need to know any more. But because there's obviously so much more that can be explored prior, the backstory to the action that unfolds in the opening scene we've currently shot and extended in the ending, I was like, I have to do another treatment on the script because I've had the interest from various investors and distributors to actually have a license agreement and have it streamed. So that's why we're now doubling it to 70. But it's what I wanted in the first place because
what are you doing with it then? Sorry, no, I'm just because I'm excited because I was just at Fright Fest last weekend and these are all and I haven't heard of any of these movies that are showing at Fright Fest, and it's sort of like it's if I had a short, what would I even do with it? So what is it? Are you going to put it out there? Are you going to try to get the short seen at festivals or something, or are you just going to focus on trying to get the rest of it done?
If I put it in the film festival circuit, it's going to spoil the whole.
I see. So you're basically now using it as a way of getting the funding to complete it.
Yeah, well, the film has been self-funded so far between myself and the team and a few investors. We've raised a lot of money because again, we're doing it to the highest standards. We've not taken any shortcuts anywhere. And we're continuing to raise the rest of it to complete it. The second treatment of the script's in the works. The edit is being done for the current footage, which is still a nice chunky amount of film to watch. But yeah, we wouldn't put in the film festival circuit because, like I said, it's going to spoil the whole film and also undermine any potential business deals to have it streamed as what I want. Because I actually would really like it to be in the cinemas because I watched. I recently watched. What's the film you mentioned? I've seen it. I can't forget. With the kids, the kids that go missing.
Weapons.
Yeah. So I recently watched that at the cinema. And I know it does have some well-known actors in it. That's a pull to it, but I kind of see my film attracting that type of crowd that go, do you know what? I actually will see it at cinema. I don't need to wait for it to come onto Netflix or Amazon or Rakuten or whatever it may be. I will watch it in the cinema. So that's kind of the goal. And obviously, we're going to tease more stuff as time goes on for us the year, so people can see a little bit more, a few more trailers, some slightly longer trailers even, so you can get a bit more context into the story and the plot. But yeah, so it's not going to be available on any short film festival or platform. It will be full feature.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, well played, and I think we've got everything crossed for you. I mean, it is incredibly brave to do something like this. I wouldn't do it. I mean, I put books out. That's different because I write books, but it's to actually make an actual movie that you are putting out there and you're putting your own money into and other people's money. It's incredibly brave. So, have you put a timeline on this? Because obviously, you said you filmed it last year, and now you're.
Oh no, sorry. We've shot this year from March to June.
Okay.
That was the first 35 minutes, and now we're planning on doing the remaining days in the autumn, okay. And then start post, and then release it, hopefully next May. That's the plan. That's the plan. Obviously, it's all depending on various factors, but we've already got a nice amount of footage to work with. Me and the director work very well together, and the DOP were the same team from the first film. I've got a great team behind me of actors, stunt performers, crew, and other individuals who got involved. So we'll see it through, and we'll have a quick turnaround, because the first film I managed to do in a 3-month turnaround at 12 minutes. So this was going to be 70 minutes, but we've already started the edit of the first 35. So I'm confident it'll be for a summer release next year.
Well, if you need any extras, I mean, I played Dead Body by a Lamppost really well.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there will be an opportunity for some horror fans to, in the extended scene at the ending, which will be in the final cut, we are introducing a few new zombies. So if you like to be a zombie or be a dead zombie or whatever, you are welcome and invited to play.
It is Michael playing to his talent level. So I mean that would be amazing. In fact, what you do is when you actually do want to actually start doing that, we can throw out a call to our listeners to see where do you film, by the way? Whereabouts in the UK?
So it's been primarily so far in like the Hertfordshire area, in Watford as well.
I live in Hampstead, so it's literally
okay.
I'll stay around yours for the weekend, Darren.
We did. You can stay one of the places in the north. It's fine.
We had Reading as well as another location we filmed at. We might be going to somewhere near Brighton for the rest of the days, though. So we're just trying to finalise that location, because this is going to be our grand finale. So we want something quite spectacular. Okay. The location we're looking at was actually used for the first Winnie the Pooh film. The horror ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we've spoken to the owner and we know him. We've met a few times. So we're potentially going to use his location.
Because that's kind of key. I just watched these two movies that, as I said, Zombie Night and Zombie Night 2, and it is literally factory to factory to factory. You do need something that people need to see as well, right? So if you can find an extra location that is good, it's certainly going to give the viewers something to.
Well, that will be our fifth. That'll be our fifth location, Darren. We've used 4 so far, because again, like you said, you don't want to look at something and think they've just redressed that set. It's the same, or it's a boring location. So exactly. It also shows the scale of the production when they got different locations. I mean, you even mentioned, I think Michael mentioned about World War Z when it was actually filmed worldwide. It's that extra level of detail and effort that, for me, as a person who watches films or not, I think these guys don't care about the money so much. They've just thought, no, we really want to show, like, have different settings, different environments, different.
Yeah, you want to make a good production for the viewer. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and then you believe it more. You believe those places are real. They are going to those places. Those things are happening, because it's not just in one location. And that's again why we've had to, unfortunately, spend more money on locations rather than go, let's just try and shoot it all in one space and use VFX to cheat it. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to use real props, real sets, different locations, and very much be like how they were in the 80s and 90s. And it wasn't on a green screen, and it wasn't lazy. They made more effort.
Absolutely, and I think we are big fans of that, and big fans of actually seeing. Because the thing is, we watch it. We'll watch anything, and we want to be entertained. It's not that we're sitting here doing it for the sake of our health. So that's amazing. And that's amazing. This has been really fun. Do you want to ask us anything? Tell us anything extra, because I know it's been an hour and you guys have got, well, he's got kids. I don't know if you've got kids, Lee, but
I have,
you have.
I have, yeah.
Michael has got a gaggle. So, anything you'd like to ask us to tell us more about your movie or anything like that before we
you've already
give everyone a wave?
Yeah, you've already nominated yourselves as extras, so I don't have to ask for that one. But I'll just like to say thank you again for your time to both of you. I really appreciate it and the insights you've given me.
No, this has been great.
No. I tell you what, I'm already thinking about your movie. I don't know anything about it yet, and how are you going to tease stuff without ruining it for people? And I did actually have an idea about how you could just do little your little teaser trailers will be from each of the individual characters' perspective, so one from each of the groups. And now you're like this person's story or that person's story or that person's story, because then it just gives a little bit of a teaser.
That's a very good idea. Yeah,
I think both of us are want to watch this now, don't we,
Michael? 100%, definitely. This sounds right up our street.
It certainly does. I mean, and also, like as I said, I was at Fright Fest last week, and that would be a wonderful place for you to start. I mean, not necessarily Fright Fest in London, but there are Fright Fests or horror movie, and it will be a horror movie festivals all over the UK that are begging for something like this, I'm sure. So I'm sure we're going to be watching this at a festival somewhere next year. You're saying you want to do by the summer next year?
Yeah, what I will say, we obviously are seeking investors, so if people would like to watch what we have already, there are opportunities. If they invest into the film as a co-producer, they can have a preview of what we have already. So there's opportunities for big fans to kind of watch the film there. And who knows, we might change our focus and allow some of the film into film festivals. So there might be opportunities there, because we would like to be in Fright Fest, but it all just depends on timing. So, but if anyone obviously wants to find out more about the film, you can follow us on Instagram.
Exactly. So that is the next bit. So tell us where the fans and the listeners can find you and Dead Zero.
So me personally, it's all one word, Lee A.D. artist. And then the Dead Zero account is dead_0_short.
That's on Instagram, right?
Yep, on Instagram. We haven't changed that name because obviously, we will be featured, but we just kept it short for now. Mm-hmm. You can find us on TikTok as well. There is a page, but we're primarily using Instagram as our main tool. We will do more YouTube as well. Obviously, we can put more videos out and trailers. But obviously, I will happily send that sort of thing to you guys if you wouldn't mind sharing reviewers if they're interested.
No problem.
Absolutely. No, we will put it. I mean, the followers on it, the Instagram too. I mean, because I think people love that. I mean, even when there's things like, I know it's really popular at the moment, but showing this whole, the John Wick thing, where we keep seeing, Paul Keanu having the shit kicked out of him by the stuntmen and stuff like that, and people love watching stuntmen and stunt performers perform action because we love that. So that's the sort of material that I'm sure people would love to watch as well. It's not giving away any of the story, but we've got loads
of BTS. I mean, we're working on quite a lot of BTS stuff to release as well prior, where that doesn't give it away too much. So there'll be stuff there that can be seen on those channels also. But yeah, I quite like the idea you gave me for doing the trailers as different characters and their subplots.
Do you know why? So, I said that? Because when I think it came from, I think it was Reservoir Dogs, the original. I saw bits where it was some of the characters, and I just think it would allow you to tell a tiny bit of each of the stories of the different groups.
Yeah, but without not giving too much.
Without giving any of it away. So it's like this character in the soldier group, this one in the security group, this one in the science group, just a few of their bits. And then I just think it's a good way to show people that something is happening. They get to care about those three characters as well, and then you and I think it's a good way to.
Yeah, thank you.
We're more than happy to help, and it's been a pleasure. It has been a genuine pleasure. Lee Donaldson, who is the star, the co-writer, and what else are you? Did you do the theme tune?
No. No,
Okay.
so yeah. So you say star. I mean, obviously things lead up to me at the end, but what I have done is I've teased my character is teased throughout the film. You don't
Okay.
see him until the end. Okay,
Ah.
so I may be the main bad guy, but the
So you're
focus
John
is
Doe
on
from Seven.
basically,
Ah.
yeah. So you the other actors and characters, we follow their journey.
Okay.
Of survival and unraveling mysteries and so forth. So that's kind of where you should be imagining what you're going to get to at the end of the grand finale. So yeah. So, but no, thank you for the idea. And
in which case, this is the co-writer and
producer,
the producer and the main villain.
Main villain, main villain.
Of Dead Zero, Lee Donaldson. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, chaps. Appreciate it. It's a pleasure as well.